So I'm probably about to get a lot of hate and get cooked like Shigaraki currently on screen right now for what I'm about to say in this video of My Hero Academia. But, as always, I am not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to just keep it 100% real and say my actual piece on how I feel about something. And, gonna be honest, guys, here's a really controversial take today. I like this episode of My Hero Academia. And before you think, wait, you're kidding, right, Chibi? I'm not joking. Apparently, a lot of people absolutely loathe this episode of My Hero Academia. Now, before I go any further and I talk about, why I enjoyed this episode, why I think it's good, etc., let's be fair here and talk about some of the arguments that's being thrown in at this episode. So, basically, there is nothing wrong with disliking an episode. If everyone, has a negative opinion on this episode, that's fine. There is nothing wrong with disliking something, not enjoying something, thinking it could be better, etc. That's fine. I'm always for the opposed side, another opinion on things. Everybody has different viewpoints on how they view something, different perspectives, etc. So I think it's completely a-okay if someone dislikes this episode. But at the same time, apparently, if you like this episode, you shouldn't. You have no business liking this episode. I've been seeing it all day on social media, people absolutely railing this episode of My Hero. So, let's talk about it. One of the biggest complaints that people are discussing when it comes to this episode is the art and animation. Now, okay, let's be fair here. This episode's art and animation, honestly, it is not on the same level as, let's say, Bleach, Chainsaw Man, Mob Psycho that we have this week. It's not. And I've been saying this in every single episode review. I've literally said, if you've been watching my videos on My Hero Academia, I've said it myself, that the art and animation is good, but when you compare it to, let's say, something like, other series that's airing this season, it's night and day. There's no competition. There really isn't. You could see, like, if we compare another work that Studio Bones is doing for this season, for instance, Mob Psycho 100, and when you compare it with My Hero, completely different series, by the way, and different staff working on them. But if you look at, let's say, the Studio Bones that's putting on their staff on different projects, you can see that they put a lot of work into Mob Psycho. And when you put them side by side, yes, there is some criticisms that could kind of be there, but once again, different, production to different staff members, etc. There's a lot of variables there. But the point is that art and animation is definitely not something that is going to be on par with other series. And so you're going to run into a lot more people complaining about the art and animation of My Hero Academia, definitely because of these other anime that is airing for the season. I know that's kind of crazy because it's like we shouldn't be comparing other anime with each other. Like, we shouldn't be comparing something like Chainsaw Man to My Hero Academia because they're completely two different series. They're night and day. And Bleach as well, or Mob Psycho, they're night and day in terms of storytelling, the way they present their characters, etc. They're not the same. But obviously there will always be comparisons because of that. And this is one of the big things I've been seeing all day, is that just the art and animation of this episode is very flat. If there is only one critique of criticism I do have for this episode, like if I really want to talk about like what felt flat for this episode, would definitely be like this punch sequence. When Izuku punches Shigaraki, it's only one moment, but I felt like it did not feel impactful. Like, the punch didn't feel like there was a lot of oomph behind it, but that was the only moment that it felt that way. Besides that, the art and animation was pretty consistent. I didn't really see anything that was negative, really, that was really that bad, that really tore me away from the episode. In fact, I think that this is a fantastic episode of My Hero Academia. But once again, let's go back to the complaints. So, one of the big things is that people are also having with this episode is that they didn't go all in for the animation or the sakuga for this fight sequence of Izuku versus Shigaraki. Which, to be fair on that regard, I slightly understand that. I do. And the reason why is because Izuku versus Shigaraki, to be fair, is a big moment for the entire story of the series. I mean, it is literally like what's been set up since the beginning. All for one versus one for all. These two powerhouses of quirks going at each other. And at long last, we get to see Shigaraki versus Izuku. Legit versus each other. And even though they're nerfed in their own ways, like Shigaraki's obviously over past his limit or whatever, and Izuku's breaking his arms, as you can see even on screen here, it's a fight that's been built up for a very long time. And so you would think that with a scene as, like, iconic as this, that's been built up for years, technically, for anime standards, you know, it would be like one of the best looking scenes of the entire anime's runtime. But to be fair, it's not. That's true. That is the cold, hard facts. So I will agree to that extent that it is strange that we didn't have, like, some extra level of movement going on. But at the same time, there was nothing that was relatively removed, that took away, and it wasn't bad, so to say. So, I don't know. I'm down the middle, I guess. I'm on the fence in some areas, but I'm still leaning more towards this episode was good, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm a manga reader. I'm not an anime only. I enjoyed this. But we also have to remember something. It is very popular nowadays to hate on My Hero. That is also truth. That is 100% truth. I mean, I've talked negatively about My Hero Academia myself. I have. And I will agree with the points I made. I will not take back what I've said negatively about My Hero in the past. My thoughts still stand on that matter. But it is very popular now to hate on My Hero, dislike My Hero, publicly say you hate My Hero, because obviously now it's more of the, like the outcast of the group for shonen nowadays, which is sad, because I do think that despite a lot of issues it has, I still hold a lot of love for My Hero, and it's sad to see just the entirety of the community really just jumping on and throwing My Hero under the bus for anything that isn't relatively that big of a deal. But okay, I've said my piece on that. Let's just talk about, you know, the episode, okay? So this episode's really good. Like I said, I think it's really good to kind of showcase why Izuku's able to use the float quirk, because he was practicing for a while with a bunch of his classmates with, like, using Air Force and Black Whip to be able to maintain his, you know, momentum in the air, and it helped him be able to use float in a more cohesive way in this fight against Shigaraki. But I also really like the fact that we get to see Shigaraki reaching, like, a limit on his area of, you know, quirks. Like, he's not able to continuously regenerate, because he's just been pushed so beyond his limit, and his, like, 75% completion is obviously playing a role in this. There's a lot of stuff that this episode does very well, and I think that, honestly, like, the Gigan stuff, like, even though this is very quick, I think Gigan had a really good moment here, really building up the atmosphere that, you know, the heroes pretty much have lost. Gigan is rampaging through city after city, non-stop, innocent people are dying. It really just shows the gravity of the situation, that even trying to put, like, this narcotic in him to make him kind of pass out, it's not enough to really slow this monster down. He is just rampaging, bulldozing through cities like it is nothing to get over to Shigaraki, and he's just leaving a path of destruction behind him. It's really sad. You can't even fathom how many people has probably died to just the overall rampage of Gigan getting over to Shigaraki. Definitely a higher death toll, I would say, than what Shigaraki did to the city, since a lot of people were evacuated. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff with this episode. I mean, we get a lot of rage moments. I really love the expressions of Izuku this episode, and I think that the art in terms of showing his facial expressions and depicting him in a very sad state, or angry, sad state, was on point. I really like the way his face was drawn throughout this episode, really demonstrating that he's just had enough. He's had enough of seeing people around him getting hurt. I mean, Aizawa literally, his face almost got completely ripped off. We saw Shigaraki himself grab Aizawa's face and almost rip it completely off, which is just, we don't even know the damages to his face at the moment with the anime. And then on top of that, you know, just the fact that, you know, Eraser's not activated, Shigaraki's capable of using anything he wants. And speaking of, you know, Shigaraki doing anything he wants, I mean, at the end of the episode, when we get to see Endeavor kind of get struck down, we see, like, the voice of All For One appear, and he uses this quirk that we know is an All For One quirk, stab Bakugo, and you're like, wait, Bakugo? Is he dead? Is he not? And whatever the case may be and how you feel about this moment, it's just like, holy crap, what a moment. Like, what just happened? And you only thing you can guess right now is some bad stuff's about to happen, because if Izuku was already distraught and upset with Aizawa getting hurt, how do you think he's going to feel seeing Bakugo in this state? It just raises a lot of questions. So, I don't know. I think that this is a legitimate good episode. I think it's okay if someone doesn't like this episode. I want to make sure I reiterate that. Nothing wrong if you hate this episode. I think that it's not okay to go after people that like the episode, because I've been seeing that all day. I don't know. I just want to be the voice of reason to a certain extent. I think that people that are absolutely, you know, going after people that even remotely enjoy this episode, just come on, guys, chill out. It's just an anime episode, and we're here to have fun and entertainment. If it's not the exact same thing you want, It is what it is. There's nothing that can be changed. That's just the reality of life. But, I guess I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for, watching this video. I greatly appreciate it. But, if you want to see more of my content, please subscribe, hit that bell icon. It will notify you whenever I upload. Leave a like on the video as well. Does help me out a lot. And with that, Chibi out.